Think of a place that has countless people showing up on its doorstep, pinning their dreams on its shining beacon of hope. The world's center for finance, commerce, fashion, the performing arts, indeed perhaps the center of the world. This is New York, and though millions have bitten into the Big Apple, it is a city that can be anything you want it to be. Join us as we show you New York City as we've known it over the years. Located in the northeastern region of the United States, New York City can be found in one of the world's largest natural harbors. It is a pulsating metropolis with its 8 million people competing for space with about 50 million visitors a year. These visitors often make their way to the city's smallest but busiest borough, Manhattan. Laid out on a grid, it's easy to find your way around the numbered streets. I have very fond memories of Manhattan, having kept an aviation office here a few decades ago. Manhattan has one of the world's most recognizable skylines. The word skyscraper was coined here, when steel-framed buildings were combined with elevators, allowing them to reach greater heights. Supporting the hundreds of skyscrapers is an ancient bedrock below the city that has become an immovable foundation for these towering giants. The city is constantly on the move, whether by foot, taxi, or trains. Railroads transformed New York in the 1800s, making the city a cultural and commercial capital. The Grand Central Terminal, built in 1913, was the majestic landmark the emerging city deserved. The vast main concourse has witnessed countless tearful goodbyes and joyful reunions for over a century. Needless to say, the terminal is an architectural masterpiece. Its celestial ceiling has prompted visitors to look up and marvel at a beautiful mural of zodiac signs and constellations. The terminal is the third busiest train station in Northern America. It also contains a connection to the New York City subway. Built in 1904, the subway is one of the world's oldest public transit systems, which also has the most number of stations. With 472 stations in operation, around 6 million people can ride the subway system on a daily basis. It is an incredible operation happening underneath the city's tall skyscrapers, making the city that never sleeps into the city that never keeps still. Located on the corner of 5th and 42nd Street is another enduring icon from New York's heyday.
On a cold and gloomy morning like this, the best way to spend your time is reading a book in the library.
Opening in 1911, the New York Public Library was the largest marble structure ever built in the United States. Its two marble lions, nicknamed Patience and Fortitude, have stood proudly by the entrance of the elegant building. It was an ambitious project for the emerging city with 7 floors of books topped by a massive reading room. Until today, amidst the busy and loud streets of New York, it is a peaceful haven that has educated and inspired millions free of charge. The Rose Reading Room is nearly as large as the Grand Central Terminal's main concourse. It can seat more than 600 people, lit by massive windows and chandeliers, and decorated with ornate details. It is indeed a beautiful space for mental endeavors. Even if information is now in our fingertips, the New York Public Library will continue to be the splendid temple of the mind. Talking about icons, perhaps no other natural landmark is more beloved by New Yorkers than the 800-acre Central Park.
It's always nice to take a break and walk in Central Park from busy New York, even during wintertime.
Central Park was the first landscape public park in the United States, envisioned to establish New York as a truly world-class city. Made up of rolling meadows, lakes, and nice walking paths, it is an oasis in the midst of the chaotic metropolis. The Woolman Rink is one of 2 ice skating rinks found inside the park. In the summer, it is often used as a concert venue. But in the wintertime, it is filled with skaters enjoying the cold weather and the nice view of the New York skyline in the background. After walking around the park, the best place to end up in is at one of New York's ever-present hot dog carts. Though many claim to have invented the popular snack in its present form, German immigrant Charles Feltman is credited for first selling these Red Hots in Coney Island, New York. Nathan Handwerker, Feltman's bun slicer, later opened his own hot dog stand, which today has become a global business. So every bite you take of New York's culinary icon is a piece of this city's history. Up next, I dig deeper into New York's early heritage while enjoying the city all decked out in holiday revelry. New York is the financial center of America, and perhaps of the entire world. In fact, Wall Street has come to symbolize the entire financial industry, where banks, brokerage houses, and the New York Stock Exchange can be found. A 7,000-pound bronze sculpture in the middle of the street draws plenty of crowds every day.
The Raging Bull has always represented energy, strength, and unpredictability in the stock market.
Anyone who has ever thought about putting up a business has to have that bullish attitude. Something I learned when I decided to open an office here on these very streets.
That's Fulton Street back there. You used to hold the office there? What, 31 years ago? Everything looks different.
I used to have an aviation office here to handle business in this part of the world. I decided to visit its exact location.
Well, they took off the old building and now they're constructing a brand new building.
Well, that's New York for you. It's always in a state of constant change. But it's always nice to walk around these familiar streets. This area of Manhattan is called the South Street Seaport, a very historic part of the city. Some of the city's oldest architecture can be found here. It was the Dutch who established the first port here, and New York then was called New Amsterdam.
This is the earliest map of New Amsterdam as the Dutch formed it in 1660.
It became a flourishing new colony, with the Dutch finding this area teeming with natural resources. Pearl Street was so named for the many oysters found in the nearby river. Wall Street was in fact the site of an actual wall built by the Dutch to protect themselves from the Native Americans and other enemies. To learn more about the city's colorful history, I visited the Museum of the City of New York. What exactly brought the Dutch to this part of the world? Henry Hudson, an English explorer who was sailing for the Dutch, was hoping to find a northwest route to China from Amsterdam. Instead, he arrived in the area of present-day New York, sailing up the river that will later be named after him. He may not have found a route to Asia, but he stumbled upon a tidal estuary, a mix of salt and fresh water with tremendous natural biodiversity. Back then, it was the greatest oyster habitat in the planet, containing about half of the world's oyster population. But it was the land of the native Lenape people. They called it Manhattan, which later became Manhattan. Hudson also discovered that the place was a rich beaver habitat, an animal prized for its fur, which was driving a fashion craze in Europe at that time. Soon after, a Dutch settlement called New Amsterdam was built in the area, establishing a prosperous fur trade network. When the British took over in 1665, New Amsterdam was renamed New York. The museum examines the history of the city in great detail, showing the waves of immigration that took place and the different cultures that shaped the very diverse city. It was a very interesting day learning about New York's incredible history. And what better way to end the day than to be at the crossroads of the world itself, Times Square. This busy square in the middle of Manhattan is where the city comes alive, especially at night. Here, under the light of flashing billboards and signs, diversity is embraced and celebrated. This area is also New York's theater district since the early 1900s. The street name Broadway originated from the earliest Dutch settlement and has since become synonymous with American theater. Today, 41 theaters play numerous productions every day for thousands of audiences. And if you happen to be in the middle of New York during the holidays, you will not find a more festive city.
It's almost the Christmas holidays. I'm here in Bryant Park and everyone is in a festive mood. Ice skating, eating, and a little bit of shopping.
Manhattan turns into a holiday wonderland, all decked out with fabulous displays. From the gigantic tree in Rockefeller to the lights and sounds in Fifth Avenue, New York is truly magical at this time of the year. Up next, I trace New York's heritage through the many influences that shaped its diverse culture. New York is considered to be one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the world, with almost 200 languages spoken and 40% of New Yorkers born elsewhere. Like the rest of America, it is the story of countless immigrants who made their way here seeking freedom and opportunities.
The nearby Ellis Island is the entry point of millions of immigrants to the United States. And their first sighting of New York will be the Statue of Liberty.
The 152-foot tall statue beckons arriving immigrants until today, just as it had since 1886. One of the first groups of people to come to New York were the Irish, who were escaping a famine in Ireland in the 1840s. St. Patrick's Cathedral, the largest Gothic-style Catholic cathedral in the United States, is dedicated to the patron saint of Ireland. It was built through contributions both from wealthy citizens as well as poor immigrants. Today, it is a prominent city landmark visited by thousands of people. Every influx of migration came with its own culinary introductions. And this would forever change the way New Yorkers eat. Different neighborhoods would have a food scene they are proud of. And I will attempt to explore these diverse cultures wherever my stomach will lead me. Comprising about 9% of New York's total population are Jews. They arrived in New York at different points in history and have come to call this place home.
I'm here in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and we'll try this famous kosher restaurant called Rush and Daughters. They've been here for the last 100 years, and it's already the 4th generation managing the restaurant.
The restaurant serves what they call appetizing, not an adjective, but a noun. That means food served with bagels. It is considered a cornerstone in Jewish American food tradition. And I have to say that the food definitely deserves its name. Having my appetite worked up, I made my way to another historic neighborhood, Chinatown. New York City has the largest Chinese population of any city outside of Asia. There are 9 Chinatowns in the city, and the one in Manhattan is the oldest. I visit a local favorite, Hob Key. The restaurant is proud of its celebrity diners posted on its walls.
I haven't had rice for a while, so this looks exciting for me.
Chinese food in New York is a fusion cuisine, an assimilation of cultures, which is pretty much the story of this place. The flavors are much closer to home, and that's definitely something I enjoyed. I let the cookie tell my fortune, and I think it said that I was very close to some excellent dessert. The fortune cookie turned out to be right, as I walked down to Little Italy not too far away. Italians came to New York in great numbers during the early 1900s, mostly landless farmers who were escaping poverty. Today, they have made a profound impact on New York's culture and cuisine. After all, what would New York be without a slice of pizza? I finally sat down for a much-needed gelato and a cup of espresso, a fitting end to my culinary exploration for the day. New York is also home to a lot of Filipinos, numbering at least 200,000 in the area. A good number of my high school classmates also reside here, and I thought it would be great to meet up with them. A mini Filipino reunion in a Japanese restaurant in the middle of Manhattan. What could be more multicultural than that? It's nice to be able to hear their life stories living in this part of the world. Some have put up businesses, some practice medicine, and some are doing IT services.
So, Bebe, why did you decide to stay here? How many years have you been here?
I've been here since 1989, so by now it's 29 years. So we decided to bring the family here. And we said in about, when we get old, we'd like to retire and have a store. We tried to raise the money, and it was a Filipino store.
But it was good because you were serving the Filipino community and bring a little bit of home to them here.
Yeah, I mean, we have everything. There's balot, itlog na maalat, there's noodles, there's liempo, there's bulalo, and everything.
So now, why did you decide to stay and start the business of recruitment? And you're also doing the balikbayan box and the packages. I mean, it's very Filipino when I think of it.
I was connected with the Philippine Embassy as a Philippine diplomat in Saudi Arabia. So on my 5th year, I was recalled to Manila. I decided to come here and give my resignation and join the private sector. In Saudi Arabia, when you say Filipino, sikat in demand, they really love them. So I thought, why not a Filipino agency nag-specialize sa mga, nannies and housekeepers. So that's how it all started. Hindi kami nag-advertise. And then, slowly, eto na yung mga celebrity. They started to call us. Yung mga sila Caroline Kennedy, they started to come. Roosevelt family, president.
No, I think what's important is you're able to help other Filipinos. It works for them, works for you, and it works. It benefits the people who are here. So Roy, most of our classmates are also here practicing medicine, but I think you're one of those who have excelled even in school. But why did you decide to stay here instead of practice in Manila?
Families here,
Oh, the family, yeah.
and yung opportunity for increased learning, doing research, and I did end up doing a specialty called geriatric medicine.
So what about Tonet? Tonet is very successful. I know that you're in the IT.
Well, you have to have the patience to that, because I've been in the business for 30 years since I got here. I am supporting 3,000 clinicians, epidemiologists, public health officials,
Wow.
doctors, and we are 275 VA hospitals that we basically service. But on the research background, I'm managing 3 government networks.
Wow, that's a lot. So you've been very successful. We enjoy going out in the Philippines when you're there. I think you're one of those who retired early because you have so much money.
He's the one who has a lot of money, not me.
No, but you retired, you were in the garment business at one time. And you traveled a lot.
When I first came in here in 1980, originally I was in the lingerie business for
I like that. How come we never met you when you were in that business?
that was a lot of fun. And then eventually, after that business closed, I went into sportswear. I actually didn't know anything about garments when I first joined the industry. But, over a period of time, you just show that you're willing to learn and that you work hard, and, it just works out. That's the advantage of Filipinos. They like Filipinos because Filipinos are hardworking.
I was glad to be able to catch up with everyone and to see all of them become successful in their chosen paths. New York is indeed a land of opportunity, and the city was built on the hopes and dreams of those who come here to seek them. It was my last day in New York, and the sun was shining. I decided to get out and shed off the pounds I've gained from my eating spree.
It's the first day when the sun is out, and the best way to spend the day is walk through the Brooklyn Bridge with a nice view of Manhattan.
The Brooklyn Bridge connects the two boroughs with a 1.8-kilometer stretch. It was the world's first steel wire suspension bridge, built to give safe passage across the rough and frigid East River for residents who work in Manhattan. Today, you can also walk or bike across. It's sure to offer some of the best views of the city from either side, especially on a clear day such as this. I marveled at the magnificence of New York's mighty bridges and sprawling skyline. Who would have thought that this beaver and oyster habitat would become one of the world's most powerful cities? It became home to movers and shakers, a crossroads of culture, global trendsetter, and financial capital of the world. It welcomed people from everywhere, allowed them to bring in their heritage, and contribute to its colorful, delectable culture. Most importantly, this place gave people hope and a chance to make a better future for themselves.
This has been your captain, Joy Roa. See you in the next Asian Air Safari.